So last video I talked about the fact that I didn't like how Behavior had no add-on design philosophy whatsoever, and as a result I wanted to actually rework the Huntress add-ons entirely with my own new design philosophy. And that's pretty much having every add-on be unique and interesting and changing the gameplay in significant ways to keep the game entertaining. And we're going to be starting with my favorite one, and that is the field dress. This is an ultra rare add-on. So when you're carrying a survivor to a hook, you press F on the hook, and this time it takes 5 seconds to hook the survivor, but you hook them with a unique animation where you hook them by their ankle. Once you hook them by their ankle, you cut the side of the survivor's throat as a field dressing technique. If you didn't know, when you go to field dress a deer, you hang the deer out by its ankles, you cut its throat to let the blood out faster so you can skin it faster, right? So essentially you're going to hang the survivor up by their ankle, cut their throat, and their hook timer is going to be reduced from 70 seconds to 50 seconds. So basically this is going to be an ultra rare add-on that gives her another way of making up for the lack of mobility. Because right now we all know that she's a 110 killer. She's very, very slow, and every single map since the last like 3 years have been worse and worse and worse for her, making her worse and worse. So we have this ultra rare add-on, which would undoubtedly become hard meta, but it'll drop their bleed out timer to 50 seconds. So now it'll only be 50 seconds per hook stage. And if the survivor does get unhooked, they'll be mangled and hemorrhaged. I was originally going to have deep wound as well, but that would be way too overpowered for tunneling. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the brown add-ons. I just wanted to get that first one out of the way because usually people don't make it but halfway through the video. So I just wanted you guys to really see that one. So up next would be the reclaimed hatchets. So you down a survivor, let's say you M1 them and you down them with a hatchet, you pick them up, you hook them, you get 1 hatchet back. You down them with 2 hatchets, you pick them up, you hook them, you get 2 hatchets back. So essentially it's just a brown add-on. A little bit of quality of life, it can be pretty solid. Reloading a little bit less often, not the same as the belts, so you won't have them always. You know, like the belts, you had 10 hatchets, that was just way too much. This one, maybe you can be reloading less if you're hitting your hatchets properly, right? So a brown add-on, nothing too crazy. Then you have the soldier scope. This one's pretty simple, just gives you a static crosshair that just goes right in the center of your screen. Then you have the splintered haft. Hatchets bounce 2 times off surfaces. I think it's funny that the Trickster has the bouncy blades when throwing knives. Like, they bounce, but hatchets bounce way more than throwing knives because they just have a lot more weight to them, you know? So if you've ever seen those videos where people throw hatchets and the hatchet bounces all the way back at them and damn near wipes them off the face of the planet, I think she should have a bouncing add-on too, so yeah. And then the last brown add-on, Huntress's Instincts, shows a throw arc guide while aiming. So basically, as you're charging a hatchet, it'll have the curve showing the throw arc, and then the longer you charge it, the more the line straightens out, right? So just some basic add-ons. These ones aren't very like unique. I mean, they're more unique than what we have now with the X Faster add-ons, and we do have a couple of those, but this is really just to help out new people, really, right? And then you have the yellow add-ons, bringing back the original U-Seed brew. Survivors hit by a hatchet are hindered by 3% for 15 seconds. Just changing the weighted head. Survivors hit by a hatchet are incapacitated for 15 seconds instead of 10. Then we have a unique add-on, the splitting wedge. So if you hit a pallet with a hatchet, when you go to kick that pallet, it'll break 50% faster. So let's say I'm running around a rock chasing a survivor, and I throw my hatchet and I accidentally hit the pallet. Well, we run around it a couple more times, the survivor drops that pallet and stuns me, but now I break it 50% faster because I hit it with a hatchet. You know, or you could just intentionally hit every pallet with a hatchet and break all of them 50% faster, but as a result, you're going to have much less hatchets for actually injuring survivors. So it's kind of a toss-up, you know, do I break pallets faster or do I have as many hatchets as possible to injure survivors? Then you have the muddy boots. This one's probably one of my favorites. Survivors leave glowing red footprints and scratch marks for 10 seconds. The footprints are directional. The footprints appear even when walking, but no scratch marks appear while walking. So essentially, the Huntress, obviously, she's a Huntress. She's a hunter. She's a tracker. She can track deer, humans, animals, anything moving through her forest. So she'll have directional footprints, and the footprints will be glowing red and aiming wherever the survivor went. So you can literally see exactly where they went. So I think this is pretty lore accurate. It fits with her perfectly, and it would be really strong. Maybe it could be higher than yellow. Maybe you could put it as a rare, but I don't know. We'd have to see. Up next are the green add-ons. Scorched Half, throwing a hatchet through a window blocks it for 8 seconds. Again, this is just a super simple number type thing. Just blocking it for 8 seconds, still more unique than Wind Up, 5% faster, but you know, it has its own little use case scenario, so that way if you throw a hatchet at a window, you can block it and shut it down. Because one of her biggest weaknesses actually is windows, especially the double L tiles where there's 2 windows. Those can be a nightmare, and 8 seconds isn't as long as Bamboozle. Bamboozle 16 seconds, so it could give the survivor some option to maybe still hit the window if they loot well enough. Up next is the Bloody Haft. Hatchets that land within 4 meters of a survivor repairing or healing give them a difficult skill check. So this one's essentially more along the lines of a thematic type thing. If a hatchet lands right next to you while you're healing somebody, you definitely going to mess up that healing. You know, you're not just going to keep healing like nothing happened. So this will give them a difficult skill check. Obviously, they'll still have the chance to hit the skill check and then they'll be fine, but maybe there's a chance that they miss it. So yeah. Up next, we have the Leather Grip and Textured Grip. This is pretty much the only X faster add-ons. 20% faster wind up for the Leather Grip, 20% faster for the Textured Grip. For blue add-ons, we have Haunting Melody. Survivors who hear your lullaby become exhausted for 20 seconds. So basically, if the Huntress is 45 meters away and then she moves towards you and you can hear her singing, you're exhausted for 20 seconds. And let's say she goes to the opposite side of the map, you can't hear her lullaby anymore, and then she comes back and you enter her lullaby radius again, you're exhausted for 20 seconds again. Now her lullaby radius is 40 meters, so 20 seconds really isn't that long, because by the time she finds you, you'll probably be exhausted for another 10 seconds maybe. And if you have Vigil, you won't be exhausted at all at that point, because Vigil knocks it down from 20 seconds to 9.2 seconds. So yeah. Up next is the Inocybe Toxin. Survivors injured by hatchets get 60% smaller skill checks. Now, I chose the Inocybe Toxin because, you know, that's kind of her thing. She has the Amanita Toxin as well, where she studies mycology and what mushrooms do. If you ingest Inocybe, it'll make you very paranoid, very anxious, very sweaty. You'll be very distracted. You can't focus at all. So I think it's pretty thematic, pretty lore accurate, and it makes her makes the skill checks for survivors 60% smaller. So yeah. Up next is the Huntress's Domain. 20% faster reloading at lockers, and lockers' auras turn white when a survivor is hiding inside. So obviously 20% faster reload is almost essentially worthless. It's pretty much no reason to run it at all, in my honest opinion. So giving it the secondary ability of showing the aura of white lockers when a survivor is hiding inside to find rats is really nice, and it's kind of thematic, you know, because it's her thing, you know, territorial imperative, her lockers, her domain, it's her stuff, so she has the instincts for it. So yeah. Number 4 is Keen Eyes. Survivors who crash within 20 meters have their aura revealed for 5 seconds. So that's kind of a simple one right there. Moving on to purple add-ons, we have Jagged Head. Injured survivors drop more blood. Pools of blood have their auras shown in white and can be seen through walls up to 24 meters away. So essentially, this is like a low-grade version of wall hacks. You injure a survivor, they're dropping pools of blood, and you can see the pool of blood through walls up to 24 meters. The pools of blood will be white. This will be really nice. I was thinking about maybe 32 meters, but I think 32 meters might be a little too strong. But yeah, another add-on I really like a lot. Up next is Ankle Snare. So within 8 seconds of the Huntress winding up, if a survivor performs a vault, they'll be forced to slow vault. So essentially, you run to shack, you ready up your hatchet, and if the survivor's going for the fast vault, it'll force it to be a slow vault. You could probably put this on a cooldown because it would be very, very strong. Who knows, maybe like 45 seconds, right? But it forces the survivor to slow vault because it's like trying to simulate the idea of the Huntress have already putting a snare down to trap survivors and things like that, because again, she's a Huntress, she would be placing traps, she would be using snares, but without having her actually have to put snares down, because let's be honest, behavior's not going to create new animations for her for things like that. So yeah, just for an add-on especially. Up next, number 3, Territorial Imperative. Reduce trees, rocks, and fog opacity by 40%. This one's super simple just to help her out because she's a ranged killer. Just trees, rocks, and fog, so that way the survivors still have their pallets, obviously. And yeah, there's a lot of extra trees. I think you could get rid of 40% without it affecting loops at all, but I'm not too sure. Maybe you'd have to take that number down a bit. Up next is Elk Blood. I tried to really be interesting with this one. So you start with the inability to gain bloodlust until you land 2 hatchets. After you land 2 hatchets, you can gain bloodlust now, but you gain it at 5% of the normal speed. up to a maximum of 30%. So basically it's 15 seconds to get Bloodlust. Well, with all of your tokens, which would be about 4 downs, you'd have to down 4 survivors to get the max 30%. Now it would take 10.9 seconds to get Bloodlust instead of 15. So it's about 4 seconds faster, a little over 4 seconds faster. Nothing crazy, but could be interesting. And then number 5, I have Just Swing Forehead as a joke, but it's really called Devastating Fury. Press M1 while holding a wound up hatchet to perform a hatchet swing instead of a throw. So basically this is to punish survivors who, if you play Huntress for any amount of time and you go against good survivors who are in a dead zone, they'll actually run straight up to you to get you to try to whiff because, you know, your camera perspectives are pretty bad, things like that. So if a survivor will run up to you, start 360ing in your face to try to get you to miss, it's very annoying, very immersion breaking. So basically with this add-on, you'll just be able to swing your hatchet, immediately injure the survivor, and you can instantly ready up right after that and hit them with a hatchet to punish them for running towards the killer, essentially. So yeah. Then we go on to the ultra rare add-ons. We'll go ahead and skip Field Dress because that was the very first one we did. So we'll go straight to number 2 with Song of Terror. This one's pretty standard, makes her lullaby map wide. So that way she could actually potentially use stealth perks. Then for number 3, we have Iron Head. Hitting a generator with a hatchet makes it explode and instantly lose 5% progress. Hitting a down pallet causes it to break and instantly winds up another hatchet. So this is another add-on to basically help her with her map pressure. You throw a hatchet at a generator, well, yeah, you are instantly popping that generator and start it regressing. But if that was your last hatchet, the survivors can just go right back to working on it. Well, you have to go reload, or maybe you have 3 hatchets left and you're in a chase and you decided to hit a gen that was at 99%. You pop that generator, but now you only have 2 hatchets for the chase. So it's like kind of a utility hatchet that could cost you downs because you got a little too greedy with popping generators with your hatchets, right? Number 4 is the Huntress's Lullaby. Survivors in your lullaby range have their auras revealed every 20 seconds for 5 seconds. So this probably wouldn't stack with the map-wide lullaby one, but basically it's like a form of echolocation type deal. So, you know, if they're in your 45-meter radius, every 20 seconds, you get a 5-second aura read on them. I think that would be very nice, very thematic, because that's kind of her thing, you know, being able to track survivors. She should have a lot of info base kit, in my opinion, built in, because that's kind of her whole shtick, you know, but obviously it was a much simpler time back then where it's just throw hatchet and whatever, right? But yeah, I think this would be really cool. And then the last one, this is one I just came up with the last second. We got a lot of ultra rares here. It's called the Song of Madness, and it uses the flavor text from her perk because she has the perk Hex Huntress's Lullaby, and the survivor quote says that song, it drives me crazy. So I thought about a madness effect, right? So survivors within your lullaby radius are afflicted by hallucinations and disorientation. Survivors occasionally hear fake approaching footsteps near them. Survivors hear fake hatchet wind-up sounds at random intervals. Survivors occasionally see illusory huntresses running in the distance. All skill checks inside your lullaby radius have a 50% chance to become difficult skill checks. So I thought that was a cool one just to slide in there. I didn't want to just make it a total ripoff of Doctor because Doctor's got his own madness. But I thought it would be cool to make an ultra rare add-on that kind of fits that flavor text. So yeah. I just wanted to kind of go over what I think are a really good add-on design philosophy. You know, add-ons that really change up the gameplay in a significant way. A lot of people have problems with this game and think there's too much bloat and there's too much to it. But I actually think it has the opposite problem, that there's not enough. You know, you don't come to League of Legends, who has over 1,000 legends, and expect them to like gut 90% of the legends so new people can figure it out. Like, no, you have to figure it out as you go. There's a lot. It's a commitment. You learn it. You keep going in. The longer a game comes around, the longer a game stays around, the longer a game exists, the more catching up you have to do. But I think every killer should have fun and unique and interesting and very varied add-ons. So I already did a total add-on rework for Pyramid Head back when he still had his trash add-ons. This is for Huntress, and I'll probably do Nemesis next because Nemesis really does need it. So let me know what you guys think of these add-ons. Personally, my favorite is the field dress add-on. I think that would be so sick, honestly. But unfortunately, it would be hard meta for sure, and survivors would absolutely hate it. So yeah, that is it for this one. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.